Good afternoon and welcome to the Town of Blythewood Town Council meeting. Today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. The time is 6 p.m. Ms. Durst, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Hovis. Here. Councilman Brock. Here. Councilwoman Fripp. Here. Councilman McKenrick. Here. Mayor Griffin.
Here, thank you, ma'am. Was the meeting and agenda posted according to state law?
Yes, sir, it was.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'll be looking for an approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we amend the agenda.
Chair recognizes Councilman Brock.
Great. I move that we amend the agenda, striking items D and E under new business and adding a description under Section 7, Executive Session Legal Update from Town Attorney -300 Main Street.
All right, Chair recognizes the change under new business, removing items D, items E, and under executive session, adding item B. Sorry. Okay. All right. Adding the description under item A, which states currently right now legal update from town attorney, and the request is to add 300 Main Street.
I'll second that motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. Ms. Durst, do you have that change? Thank you. At this time, would you please join Councilman McKendrick for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Councilman McKendrick, would you mind letting Richland County Chaplain, yes, sir. Thank you. Do the invocation. Witherspoon, I'm sorry.
Please join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chaplain. Thank you, Chaplain Witherspoon, for giving us an invocation this afternoon.
Let us all bow. Kind Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come to you tonight, Father. Oh God, wanting to thank you for everything that you are doing in the city of Blythewood. We thank you, Lord, for keeping your protection around the city. Father, we even thank you for each and every board member and their families. We pray for them, Lord, that you'll continue to do a great work in them and in this city. Father, we even thank you for our mayor, Lord. We thank you. Continue to bless him and his family right now in the name of Jesus Christ. Father, bless this meeting on tonight. Help us all to be in unity and in love right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Chaplain Witherspoon, and to the entire Richland County Sheriff's Department. Thank you all for what you do. Now, at this time, I'll pause for a moment for any remarks from council members. To my left.
Good, sir.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
I'm fine.
Thank you. To my right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. No remarks from myself. And item G, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the minutes from Town Council regular December 15th meeting and the Strategic Planning Goals Session Workshop, January the 12th.
Mr. Mayor, I have had a chance to review both those sets of meetings, and unless there's an objection, I would make a motion that we approve both sets as presented.
Thank you, sir. Motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. At this time, I'll pause. Ms. Durst, if we have anyone signed up, but I'll pause as always for public comment.
Just a note, the Blythewood Historic Society will be erecting the windmill tomorrow and working on it the rest of the week. Just to let y'all know, thank you
Thank you, sir. We'll make sure Jordan will get that info up, and can you? Okay, thank you, ma'am. The windmill at the Historical Society will be going up tomorrow, so if you don't mind, ma'am, please send a reminder to members of council if they wish to attend. Public, is there a time?
Unfortunately, there's not, because they're having to pour the pad and then erect it sometime after 12.
Okay.
So, but they will be working on it the rest of the week, and there will eventually be a welcome and ribbon cutting ceremony for it.
Cool. Thank you, sir. At this point, I'll close public comment at 6:06, ma'am. Item 3, boards and commission updates. We don't have a representative for Doco Meadows Park. Our town manager, do we have any updates from Doco Meadows Park Foundation?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Item B, Central Midlands Council of Government, myself as representative. I will be sending emails to each of you as we begin to look at what we want to do. I have a couple of things that I think are low-hanging fruit that will go right in line with our strategic planning goal of beautifying the town. So I think there's something that you all would definitely enjoy, and I need to see how you want to go from there before I ask for that assistance from the COG. On gateway signs is one of them, and then some other beautification pieces that's on their grant topics right now. Item C, Richland County Transportation Penny Tax Advisory Committee, TPAC, Councilman McKendrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing new to report from TPAC.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll move to, Paul, sorry, any questions or comments from staff? Council.
I'd like to make a comment, please, Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
if I may. I should have brought this up a moment ago, but I wasn't fast enough. Doco Meadows Park Foundation, I always see it on the agenda, and I never hear about it, and I just wonder, what is the status of the foundation, and why don't we hear about it, or is it defunct, or what exactly does it do?
So actually, Mr. Driggers, for our next council meeting, can we reach out to them to give us an update on the Park Foundation?
Well,
I know we have it on
if-
the agenda to appoint
If
someone.
we take action on tonight's agenda, you'll have a member of council
Yes,
that can make
yep.
that report.
And I still want to make sure that they come in, because it has been a while since we heard anything from the Park Foundation. All right, thank you. What's that answers? We'll get someone, but we're going to appoint someone tonight, hopefully. Yes, ma'am. All right, next item is staff reports. Item A, financial report. Our finance director, Ms. Edwards.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The financial for December of '25, the gross profit is going to be $409,845.46. Year-to-date is $2,726,406.15. Our total expenses will be $183,605.65 and $1,485,293.79 for the year.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, any questions for Ms. Edwards? Thank you, ma'am. Next item, item B, town manager report, interim town manager Driggers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. A couple items to make you aware of. We did begin in January our review of the manor operations. William Louder, who is working with us, has been on site doing that work. He's met with our staff here, looking into our standard operating procedures, our ordinances, all of those things. So doing the groundwork to build that information. He'll be meeting next week with some of our staff that works along with these folks. So he'll be meeting with, for example, he'll be meeting with Jennifer to understand how transactions that move from here to there, how it's recorded, where that's done. He'll also have communications with Jordan, our marketing director, on how we are promoting the facility and those types of things. So he's getting all that background done. But he has also requested, he would like to meet with each of the council members individually. He believes that to be able to understand how to develop the business plan for this facility, he needs to understand what your expectations are and what you're looking for in that. And so, so what you'll see from me will be an email from me to you, copying him on that so that we can exchange email addresses. And that message will also indicate that this is the introduction for you to be able to arrange that meeting. He would prefer to do those in person, but certainly willing to do those by telephone or by Zoom or by Teams if that works for you better. And he will accommodate your schedules to be able to do that. So we're looking at doing that the week of February the 9th. That'd be the 9th, 10th, 11th, either that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week. But you'll be getting that information probably tomorrow. That'll be coming out to arrange those. Wanted you to be aware of that. I did want to mention some follow-up from our planning retreat that we held back on January the 12th. Now that our minutes are approved, so you saw in detail those minutes covered that meeting as well. And now that those minutes are approved, that puts us in a position that we can publish those priorities from that session, and we'll move that forward. Allow me to remind us that the priorities established in that meeting, you will see those again. You will see those in the budget that I present to you later this spring. You'll see that in the priorities of what we're doing relative to the operations of our staff, and so that's where you'll go. Well, where did that come from? Well, the answer is going to be it came out of our priorities. Okay. Why is it there? It came out of our priorities. Now, what we do with it at that point, that is completely up to you. But we will be using that to help form our work plans and our budgets going forward. So I just wanted to make you aware of how that'll be interwoven for us. I know we've got an agenda item a little later to talk about our inclement weather policy, but I did want you to be aware that we had no significant events. We actually had minimal interruption to any of our public facilities. Everything remained pretty calm. The only thing that we had happen is the water faucets, the fountains that are out in the new restroom facility, those froze on us. So we got some busted pipes with that, and but that's temperatures, and that would have happened no matter what the precipitation was. That was just cold weather. And so we're making those repairs. They're not going to be terribly complicated, but it does require us to have a plumber come in and help us make those types of repairs. But that was really our only casualty as part of that. Pretty calm for us. I want to make you aware that I do intend to solicit for proposals for our audit services going forward. We've been using our current auditor for a number of years. My recommendation for audit services would be that we would that would be for a 3-year period with an option to renew for an additional 3 years. That's pretty standard in what we do in municipal government. And so I just think it's appropriate that we get that out now, because if there's a change in cost, we need to be aware of that as we go forward. Yes, sir? It's not an automatic renewal, correct? It's not an automatic renewal. It's an option for renewal. Yes, sir. Yes, it's 3 years with an option to renew for an additional 3 years. Getting that out. I also want to make you aware that you may see some bid solicitations on some of our operational items. An example of that is it's my intent to bid for our weekend cleaning services at our facilities here at the park, our restrooms and those types of things. We bring in employees. These employees are coming in at time and a half in almost always cases. It's very likely that we could farm those services out to a cleaning company to do that, and we can probably do that a little bit cheaper. Don't know the answer to that until we put the bids out and solicit them, get them back in. But once we get those, and obviously because those are bids, those will be coming back to you for review as well. I think the ordinance may even allow for certain bids under certain prices can be done otherwise. But I think it's important that when we do published bids, that those bids come to council. They'll come with a recommendation, and then council will either accept, amend, or reject that recommendation. And the last thing I think that I would share with you, I know that you removed the items on the agenda tonight relative to the boards and commissions. And so I really just wanted to ask, we've provided you with some material at your desk tonight. If you are comfortable that you know what that means, then I am glad for you to take that handout and go with it, and we can discuss it later in another meeting. But if you believe that you need any explanation of what these are telling us, I'm certainly available to answer that. So that's at your discretion, since it's not on your agenda tonight.
Mr. Mayor, the only question I have is in relation to the information we received in December.
Yes, sir.
Was the information we received at our December meeting, obviously now we know it was incorrect, or some of it was incorrect.
It was updated based on additional information. The primary additional information is going back through the minutes and determining that we've had individual members, that there have been motions at council meetings to appoint folks to respective boards and commissions. And as a result of that, some of those folks, I mean, was the intent, here's what I know. I know that there was no intent for the term because we weren't using that.
So I'm following you, and I appreciate the clarifying chart.
Yeah.
Where did we get the term, the term that was provided to us in December? Where did those come from?
I don't think the terms changed.
Oh,
I may
no,
be
they
mistaken.
did.
Oh, they
They
did?
did, yeah.
Some terms have changed?
Yeah.
Then that may have just been too early of a response. The more that we were able to dig into this, it became very clear that our practice was not following our ordinance. And so we wanted to stop and go back to the ordinance. That's what created this document that says, hey, from 2009 forward, under the description of the ordinance, these were the terms of those positions. I think where the confusion has been is in December, I did not know that some of these folks had been appointed. Our records that weren't the same. The records that I got from the zoning official who meets with these three boards, his records did not match the records that our clerk had, and they did not match the records that Daniel had.
Okay, I think that's kind of where I was going.
They
What you gave us
they
in
did not
December-
match.
What you gave us in December was a different department, obviously, than what did this.
What you got in December came from the zoning office.
Okay.
Yes. And so, and just for clarification as well, we had this conversation earlier today. The municipal clerk has responsibility for the records of these boards and commissions because they have seats and terms that really flow the exact same way council seats do. I mean, while you don't have seat numbers, you certainly have terms, and so do our appointments to our boards and commissions. It just hasn't been our practice to follow that ordinance.
Please.
Councilwoman Hose.
Thank you. I'm trying to understand the mismatch between the information we have today and the information given in December. So for an example, what I am looking at, I believe that a current applicant has applied as if their membership on the particular committee has expired, but yet when I look at this document, it looks like their membership doesn't expire until 2027. So for example, Vice Chair Taylor on the Planning Commission, I believe is a current applicant for that position, but if it doesn't expire until 2027, is that what we're talking about as the discrepancy tonight?
And on to Ms. Hovis's point, what we got in December said Mr. Taylor's seat expired in '24.
And then we found minutes after that was given to you in December. We located minutes from January 27th, 2025, that he was reappointed for no term, for no seat, but reappointed.
So then you defaulted to this.
So then I defaulted to that, which were the seat, the terms of each of those seats by ordinance. Yes, sir.
Which gives him seat 3 or 4.
Which gives him seat, you talking about Mr. Taylor?
I am.
Gives Mr.
2.
Taylor seat 2.
How are you arriving at that? Because the chart says Planning Commission, if you were appointed in 2025, which he was, you are in seat 3 or 4.
That's why.
Look at your,
You may have a point.
that's my confusion.
That you
So
may have a point.
If we're fixing the matrix, that doesn't fix it because he's in the wrong seat.
And with all due respect to former, excuse me
In,
if I'm speaking
in
out
that
of
we
turn.
assigned him the wrong seat.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sure, so in respect to former Mayor Bailey, who is here this evening, I believe has also applied, but I see on here that his seat does not expire until September of this year.
That is correct. Well, we believe that to be
And
correct.
it can't be. Again, he was appointed in 2025. According to the matrix on the Board of Architectural Review, he would be in seat 3, 4, or 5.
But here, yeah.
I'm not trying to get you in a gotcha moment.
No,
We
no,
just-
no, 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 I mean, it is what it is. The problem that we had from trying to create this is that no one has been appointed to a seat or a term.
I'm with you.
Right. So I'm not sure, that since he was appointed in 2025, because we had 3 people, 2 people in January of 2025, 1 person in March of 2025.
Yeah, which is going to be my next question because I was on council in January of 2025, which the BAR, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you show 6 people with a term start date of 1/27/2025.
I don't remember.
I don't ever remember.
Voting for them.
What?
Voting, you mean voting for
Yeah.
them?
The minutes reflect that each of those persons at that meeting were reappointed
By a vote of,
by the council.
interesting, because I certainly don't remember voting since I've been on council.
Ms. Church,
I
can
mean,
you-
there are particular ones.
You
I
did the
voted for.
research on that.
If I can speak, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I researched those minutes, and even on the agenda, it had reappointments. Councilman Brock, you made the motion to approve.
I remember several,
Right.
there were several individuals.
Right.
It could have
Okay.
been
Motion
in
to
excess of
approve,
5.
and it was,
I agree with that.
It was 5-0 vote.
Council, if it behooves this, can we just move on to this until a little more time and research has been put into this? We've effectively removed the 2 items that address this, and we can give Mr. Driggers and staff a little more time to do research and properly align the individual with their seats. And instead of just, the debate and discussion that we're having right now should probably be reserved for the 2 items that we're effectively moving down the road for either the next meeting or the March meeting.
Thank you, Councilman Brock.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
the only thing I would ask in respects to boards and commissions, because I'm sure I know myself and others have made phone calls, had lunch meetings to try to be prepared for tonight. Ed, can we communicate with the applicants that we've received? Because I told all applicants we were going to be discussing and voting on this tonight. We're
Of
not.
course, absolutely.
That we'll probably be doing that in February or at a later meeting.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Driggers, you still in remarks?
That concludes my remarks.
Okay. Let me sure. Thank you, sir. Councilman McKendrick, if you wouldn't mind, I sat with staff today to look over this again and look at these dates and make some suggestions that they put in here to make it easy, because before it wasn't easy, before we put the colors in. And Jordan back there was nice to wrangle us in on dates and try to get us together. I would ask, if you wouldn't mind, if you want to take and assist staff with this, because it is a daunting task for staff, and maybe it'll help out a little bit and speed up some things for our next meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, old business. Item A, second reading. It's an action item, discussion and approval of ordinance 2026.001, amending ordinance 30.03, meetings of council to modify the scheduling of regular meetings. Our town attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This ordinance 2026.001 was brought to council for first reading in December. It's back in front of you this evening with just one change from what was approved on first reading. In subsection B, the words town manager were added to subsection B, so that special meetings of council now, if this passes on second reading, may be held on the call of the mayor, the town manager, or a majority of members of council. And just to give a brief recap for the public and for everybody as to what this ordinance is doing, previously, well, as everybody knows, council comes up with a calendar of regular meetings at the beginning of the year, or I guess in December for the coming year. The ordinance up until now has stated that regular meetings would be held on the last Monday of each month, which sometimes that might be a fifth Monday. So to add more consistency, the ordinance is being changed for regular meetings to be held on the fourth Monday in each month, but that can be changed by a majority vote of council members. Or when council approves its calendar for the coming year, council can, and that's this last clause in subsection A, council can decide to hold its regular meeting on a different day than that fourth Monday in each month. So that is what is in front of you for second reading this evening.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, and concerns from council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026.01.
Thank you. Motion made. Looking for a second.
Second.
Second made. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to new business. Item A, appointment of town council representative to the board of directors of the town of Blythewood Foundation of Doco Meadows Park.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, sir.
at our December meeting, I provided you an excerpt of the bylaws of the foundation. And in those bylaws, it indicated that the seat, that there is a seat designated for a member of town council. So the person must be a sitting member of town council for that seat. Obviously, that was held by Councilwoman Page earlier, and of course, she's no longer with us, so that seat does indeed need to be filled.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So at this time, the floor is open for nominations for an appointment.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to nominate Councilwoman Hovis to that position.
Thank you, sir. Nomination made for Councilwoman Hovers. Any other nomination? Hearing none, nominations are closed. And Councilwoman Hovers, we can unanimously,
Very good.
congratulations,
Oh,
ma'am.
thank you. Just got to figure out what it is.
You asked earlier,
know,
so
I
now you can really
I
find
think I
out.
walked right into that, didn't I?
Thank you. Anything any member of council can do to assist you, just let us know. And I definitely want to reach out to you because there is something I need from the foundation, kind of ASAP. Item B, road acceptance, action item requested by staff.
Yes, sir. If I may, you may recall from our last meeting, we brought to you, our last two meetings, we brought to you action items to release the bonds for construction of various phases of construction of residential neighborhoods. What we've learned in this process is that there is no real need for us to do two things. We don't need to release the bond and accept the roads. Releasing the bond is a natural action that would take place if the council accepts the roads. So there was no reason that we would not release the bonds. And so what you will see going forward will be action items recommending the acceptance of roads from subdivisions. And when we do that, we naturally would release the bonds. But because we did not accept the roads in our last action, I wanted you to be aware that what we're coming to you and asking of you tonight, and the one that you're hearing, the newest one, is from a D.R. Horton neighborhood. This is the Holly Bluff subdivision. And so so that is looking at accepting the rights of ways together with the roads, paving, sidewalks, et cetera, for those streets: Summers Trace Drive, Bumblebee Court, Robin Song Court as well. Each of these within the Holly Bluffs subdivision. So it is our staff recommendation. Those roads have been inspected. They have been constructed to SCDOT standards. We do have an intergovernmental agreement in place between us and Richland County that they will do the maintenance of those roads under that intergovernmental agreement. It's not really the place here, but at some point I'll share with you some concerns I have about that intergovernmental agreement, but we do have it. It is in place, and it is our recommendation that we would accept those roads, and as a result, we would release the bond on those roads. So Mr. Mayor, it would be your decision if you would want to do that by single action, but I also need to accept the roads for those that we previously released the bonds on. Okay.
8 and 9 in Ashley Oaks.
Yes, that is Ashley Oaks Phase 8. And in Phase 8, that was Wild Hickory Lane, Scarlet Oak Road, White Ash Court, and Yellow Poplar Way, also known as Red Ash Way. That we would be accepting the roadways there. Again, they were inspected, they were constructed to SCDOT standards, and we would recommend that we would accept those. We also have Ashley Oaks Phases 9A and 9B, and in those phases, that is Scarlet Oak Road, Yellow Poplar Court, and Red Ash Way as well, those sections within that area. And then also Ashley Hill Estates.
I mean, Abney Hill.
I'm sorry, Abney.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be. Abney Hill Estates. And that is for Hanging Leaf Court and Oak Valley Drive. It is staff's recommendation that we would accept each of those.
Those two.
And did I miss two?
Yeah, you missed those in.
Oh, it does, because it had
9A
it
and
is.
9B.
In 9A and 9B. Also, Scarlet Oak Road, but these are the ones that are within the county, which is one of the
Okay.
things. Yeah, yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, just accepting those in the road.
Gotcha.
So, yes.
Here, question for you.
Yes, sir.
On Abney Hills, what phase, I'm trying to find it here.
You don't have the
It was
roads?
phase 3 in Abney Hills? Yeah,
Okay.
it is. I see it. Okay, because they're on to the next phase, which they're not done with, so you won't take those roads
Correct.
until they're done. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
And the 3 roads in Holly Bluffs, that's the entire subdivision. That's my subdivision, so I
Yeah.
know those are my, yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Driggers,
Yes, sir.
you mentioned, and please be brief with your answer in response to my question. I know, it can be challenging. You mentioned that you have some concerns about the IGA.
I do.
That was pretty short.
That is a very short answer. I don't recall in all my years of council we've ever accepted any roads because, as you well know, Blythewood has no road maintenance, no road crew. We have no means to repair and maintain roads. So, could it be prudent to postpone this item and review this IGA to ensure that if we do take ownership of roads, that we have a solid agreement so that in the off chance the county were to decide to not repair the roads, we'd actually have a good standing to make sure that we can enforce that agreement, or possibly let the county accept the roads and we not get into the business of accepting roads. Because again, we clearly don't have the money to do it. We don't have the staff, we don't have the equipment. And if you have a concern about an IGA, I can't approve the acceptance of roads when my town manager is telling me I've got some concerns about the third party that would be responsible for maintaining and repairing said roads.
The language of the IGA is good language. What I have a problem with is it says that it can be terminated by notice of either party. And I have a problem with that language.
What would you have it to say?
Strike that language.
Well, I don't know how we, so the vulnerability we have is that at any given time, the county could notify us that they no longer choose to have that agreement, and now we would have responsibility for the maintenance and upkeep of those roads. Which is not unlike other municipalities. I mean, that's a very common thing, it's just not here. And so other municipalities within Richland County accept roads and they do have responsibility for that maintenance. We've never, to the point, we've never maintained roads, and I can give you no history on this. I was not involved in any regard in any piece of this.
So, just a backup clarification, and I'll use another neighborhood. Oakhurst obviously has internal roads. The subdivisions you just handled are the newer subdivisions on one side of the interstate. What action was taken on Oakhurst roads, if any?
I don't know.
Yeah, I just,
That was a rhetorical question.
it was, because, obviously that's a neighborhood with multiple interior roads, and to Brock's earlier point, I don't ever remember on council voting to take responsibility for roads. However, we do vote for the bond release.
Well,
To your earlier point,
here's my concern. Our town attorney researched the IGA, and he found in the minutes of our meetings and of the county council that both bodies discussed and agreed. We have an agreement. Do you remember the date of that?
I think it's March of 2024.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the signed agreement by county council, by this council. I think the process for that IGA, just a little bit of history, started under Carol Williamson's administration. He started that process of getting that IGA put together. I believe there was a memo to council. I don't have that with me now, but when that came to council, and it gave a little bit of brief history about maintenance of roads. The IGA that was approved in March of 2024 was an update to one that was already in place. I think the ordinance or the resolution that allowed council, or that put that matter in front of council, even listed the previous IGAs between the town and the county, and stated in the whereas clauses or in that memo from Carol that the county has, by long-standing agreement and tradition, has always maintained roads within Blythewood that are not state DOT maintained roads. But I mean, probably a valid concern if the town is accepting roads, turning them over to the county. If the county can say, we're done with this agreement, might be a valid concern there. But yes, that is, as I understand it, and from the materials that I recall around the time of the most recent IGA, that was the history given, that the county has always traditionally maintained those roads, and that was put on paper also.
So, Pete, is there room for, to Brock's earlier point, for us to get out of the way here and let the county take the roads?
Well, the agreement says we take the roads. The intergovernmental agreement says we take the roads, and we agreed to that.
Right, and I think that's the way it's always been traditionally, that because if the towns are in the town limits, town accepts the roads, but the county agrees and by tradition has maintained those roads. So I think if the town were to step out of the way and say, we're not going to accept any roads anymore, it's got to be through the county. I don't know what kind of response that would get. I don't know where that would end up.
Councilman Brock.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to postpone indefinitely item B, road acceptance, until we can get a little more clarification from the town manager, given what's been discussed.
I understand it. I'm looking for a second on this. Second made. Any discussion?
So would that mean?
Discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Councilman?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. So February, this will come back for an update in February.
May I ask this question? Would we be willing to release the bond for the construction of the road?
I think we've already done that.
But we did it on all except the first one. We did
We did on Holly Bluff.
the D.R. Horton is the one that we've not done that with.
Can
Holly Bluff is the one we have not, yes.
That would require an amendment of the agenda, then, would it not? To
Yep.
place an action item on the agenda?
Well, I think we're under, I don't know, whatever.
Would that require an amendment of the agenda, Pete, to add that as an action item, since it's kind of a separate action relative to releasing the bond and road acceptance?
Yes, and especially since it's an action item.
And
I'd like,
go ahead, ma'am.
I'd like for the agenda to be amended to do that.
Well,
No?
I think we've got some other requirements. If we're going to amend the agenda to take action on an item, and it would be the final vote on the item, And if there hasn't been an opportunity for public comment on the item, we've got to have a supermajority vote and a finding of emergency or exigent circumstances.
If not, then we just address it in the February meeting.
And yes,
Okay.
it can be
Okay.
addressed in February.
Was
then.
it part of the road acceptance? Or were you, to your
Yes.
earlier
Yes.
point,
Yes.
you were saying you either
Yes.
accept roads or release a bond?
Yeah, again, I think releasing a bond is an administrative function based on the action council takes relative to the road. If you accept it, we release the
Gotcha.
bond.
Okay.
I mean, it's all part and parcel. Road acceptance, bonds, like
Yeah.
Mr. Drigger says, it's all part and parcel.
If it's part and parcel, then we can make a motion to release Holly Bluff from the bond.
Right, what would
And
be
it
the,
should be covered under B, correct?
I think that view can certainly be taken.
so Councilman Brock, what would be your opposition to separating that?
I would make a motion that we release Holly Bluff from the
Thank you.
bond as recommended by staff.
All right. We actually have a motion.
I withdraw my motion.
Motion withdrawn. Motion made to accept the bond for Holly Bluff.
Would
The
you be
bond
amending
Release, I'm
the-
sorry. To release the bond for Holly Bluff. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
Second made, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. Holly Bluff. And we'll bring the other ones back in February.
And I will bring that back as a review of our intergovernmental agreement.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Is that,
Yeah, you may,
That's it, sir.
if you get clarification on the intergovernmental agreement, bring that back for review. If it's satisfactory to staff, would you put the action item on there to accept the roads? Because if staff's gonna recommend, yes, we had a discussion, I'm good with this, and you recommend accepting the roads, that way we can clear that from your plate in February.
yes, I do want to be clear. I don't really know that I can bring you any additional information. I
On the
mean, we
intergovernmental
have,
agreement.
we have an intergovernmental agreement, and this is what it says.
But you don't like, you're uncomfortable
I
with the
don't, I'm
clause.
just saying, I have a problem
yeah.
that we agreed to an intergovernmental agreement that says that either party can get out of the agreement by notification.
In your,
And so my concern is, at some point in the future, and I think this is where Mr. Brock was going, is that at some point in the future, I think we have risk that someone says, we no longer do that, and these are now yours to maintain.
is there wording from your past experience at towns and municipalities that would clear that up?
My experience is that city roads were maintained by the city.
Okay.
You also have a millage.
Yes,
Yes.
oh, I'm
We
not,
did not.
oh, absolutely.
You have
Oh,
means to pay for it,
absolutely. I mean,
whether you contracted with a third party or you had your own.
you're absolutely correct with that. There was a revenue stream that was dedicated to road paving.
Yep.
Ad valorem millage, but still, there was millage assigned to that. And y'all don't have that.
Right.
And so, you know, ultimately, the instruction may be that we need to sit down and say, look, you know, who was at the table at that time is not who's at the table now. We need to understand it a little bit better, understand what you're trying to do.
So what is the exposure? What is the exposure by not taking the roads by official action?
Well, I think the exposure could be that it nullifies the existing intergovernmental agreement, and we have none. And so I think at that point, the county could say, start paving roads.
So in other words, it may be best to not say anything,
Well,
because if you bring it
I
to their
think
attention.
we go with our hat in our hand,
Okay, okay.
because we're not in the driver's seat on this issue.
Well, and to the county's credit, I mean, the county does a great job maintaining our roads.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's saying they don't.
And please, I have had no one say to me, this is what we intend to do. That is not. It is just,
You think it's on their radar?
you're a growing municipality, you're gonna get bigger than other municipalities within the county, and those other municipalities pave their own roads, they have their own police department, and they all have millage. So, you know, we're not 2,000 people
No.
anymore.
Okay.
Mr. Driggers, can you get email a copy of that agreement to each member of council so that they can see that?
Sure.
And then we can go from there. So each one of
Sure.
us can review that,
Yeah.
see it, make recommendations, and
I can do
back to
that.
you. Pete?
People send it right over.
Okay. And that satisfies council on seeing
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is item C, review of current four-year policy and possible recommendations for change to the IT vendor discussion item requested by Councilman Brock. Councilman Brock.
Let's see. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I reached out to Mr. Driggers in response to, actually, there's two items that are to be addressed with this, or two instances. The first one was actually mine, and the second one was brought up in The Voice, to where the town has advised myself, through you, Mr. Driggers, on an email dated 12/17, when I requested some emails, and Ms. Ball, in her most recent issue of The Voice, I believe it was the most recent issue, that there would be a $500 search administered by the IT vendor for, I guess, production of any and all emails, whether it be 0, 500, 5,000, I don't know. That strikes me as a bit excessive and somewhat of a deterrent. Mr. Driggers, can you point, and I don't know if you have it in front of you, can you point to where in our IT agreement that there are language that says that they're going to charge $500 or
No,
some
sir.
sort of fee
not
for
in
these
there.
searches?
Nope, it's not in there.
Okay, so,
What is in the agreement
okay,
are the services that they provide.
so, okay,
This
Okay.
is outside the scope of what we are under contract with them for.
okay, then that raises an interesting point. How do we comply with the Freedom of Information Act if we don't have any language that outlines their responsibility to us being our only IT vendor, unless we decided to do it in-house, which we could?
Actually, we cannot.
Why is that?
To the server.
We do not host our data.
Okay, but could you not go into my email and type in keywords?
No,
and-
sir, I can go into mine. You can go into yours.
Okay, so, all right, I'm trying to make it so that this is simple and it doesn't deter the public in there, or the media in there, or members of the public, to where every time somebody says, I would like to see emails between Councilman Brock and Councilwoman Hovis, which there probably isn't very many, if any, from, November of '25 through the end of the year, 60 days worth of emails. And you write back, sure, happy to produce it, but it's gonna cost you $500. And somebody says, well, okay. And then they get 2 emails, which amounts to nothing. That just seems excessive, it seems punitive, and it certainly will restrict a lot of, especially smaller organizations, like the Chronicle potentially and The Voice, from being able to get what they may feel is for the benefit and the good of the public. So, how should we, and I'm asking you and council at the same time, how do we address this so that we aren't deterring the public, and it's not just the media, from requesting documents and information that they are entitled to.
Well, since you said council, can I respond to that?
Absolutely.
Okay. First of all, I think we need to back up a little bit because the South Carolina state law says that we need to publish our FOIA fees. And if you look at our FOIA document on our website, it is scant. It doesn't address a third-party vendor like many other municipalities or towns our size or larger.
Yep.
So if we are able to provide that information to the media to say, third-party vendor requests will cost and that there should be an outline. That's the state law that says how much do we charge for that regardless if we get it from in-house or out-house. And then my second comment would be, how do other agencies, a lot of other agencies use data in the cloud from somebody else? So how do they get into somebody else's email? They must be able to satisfy those FOIA requests by, and I'm not saying you want to search our email and you're fine to do that, but somebody must be able to get into email because agencies provide those requests all the time in-house and use maybe another data source. So that's a kind of a two-part question. First of all, we need to, in my opinion, publish the fact that if we use a third-party vendor so that the media is rightfully informed and knows what those fees are, and that is in the law. And secondly, review, how do you provide in-house emails if it's a privacy situation and you can't go on mine and I can't go on yours? Well, somebody does that somewhere.
And if I might add, if you were requesting an email from me, I don't know, chain of custody or whatever, would it be me that would provide my own email to someone? I mean, is that like a little sketchy?
I don't think that's very effective.
Correct, that's right.
Certainly hasn't been effective.
Be effective, but it does comply with FOIA, and I can give you a specific example. Because of somebody that used to work with you, you, Robert, not you, every member of council, at least I think at the time, at least I know that the Mayor Griffin and I, we received individual, very specific FOIAs. I can probably find it if anybody wants to see it. And we were perfectly within our rights to self-pull and self-report, which we did. To this day, I haven't heard anything from it since. So, to answer your question, Councilwoman Fripp, it's perfectly legal, from my understanding, that if you received a FOIA request, you can submit responsive documents. If someone wants to challenge it, then they're welcome to sue us as an elected official in municipal court, circuit court, maybe, I don't know which I think it would be circuit court. But you know, I understand your chain of custody question, but there's, I don't want to say a workaround because it's not a workaround. It's perfectly legal to self-report.
I would agree.
Yep,
I
I did that with my
agree.
text messages. They wanted me to hand over my phones. I told them blank no, and I did it my own. Perfectly fine. No, absolutely not. It's just a FOIA.
Yeah.
At the time, they were welcome to take us to court. They chose not to.
And I don't want to go too far into it, but my understanding is, and if that is not acceptable, then it can be subpoenaed. And if it's subpoenaed, and a subpoena is issued, you would have no choice but to surrender that device.
My official position at the time, and I think Mayor Griffin will agree with me was if a judge ordered us to turn over our phones, then we would. Until then,
right,
you get what you get. And that issue has since been resolved.
Yep.
So I'll recognize Ms. Durst.
Thank you. Councilman Brock, I did have Asset Technology research my emails that was FOIA'd, my emails with the mayor and with the manor, and they did search my computer and put it in a certain file, and those emails I did put on a thumb drive for Mr. Balthazar. I did, so they did a search on my computer in my emails, sent and inbox for those, but then when they said they could do other certain keywords that they would charge for. But for that particular FOIA, they did do.
And there was no charge?
There was no charge.
Okay, so now we've got a little bit of conflicting information here. Certain instances they're going to charge, and certain instances it appears that they are not going to charge. That is a little bit of a problem, I think.
I would agree.
That's why this issue is being raised right now. So I guess my question would be, Mr. Driggers, can we get some clarification on what would trigger a fee or for some sort of search? Because again, in the email you quoted me saying there's a $500 fee for email search. That just seems ludicrous. I know that during the early days of MPA, when they wanted us to bring our phones in, they wanted to charge us like a $500 fee or something like that. No, thank you. So again, given what Ms. Durst has said about they were was it Asset Protection? Is that the name of the company?
Asset Technology.
Asset Technologies. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. We need a little more clarification on what is and isn't, and if we need to add an addendum or to the contract, we can. I know that it states that we can terminate the contract for any reason with 60 days written notice. So I would like to have at least a little bit more clarification by the next meeting. I don't think that's...
I can give it to you tonight. I've had those conversations with them.
So they don't have an answer?
No, they do. Many answers. I'm
Just waiting for the end.
just
Go
waiting
ahead.
for somebody to ask me
Okay,
what I know.
What do you know, sir? What do you know?
Tell me
us-
what you know.
I've communicated with the CEO of ATG, and this is a policy that they have with all of their customers. Their policy is, I cannot speak to why it was done differently at any other point. Their policy is that they have a minimum charge of $150 an hour for a minimum of 2 hours. Now, whether or not the service can be done in 5 minutes, and all I can say is whether I agree with that or I disagree with that. All my conversations prior to the one this week was at $500. This week, we talk about $300. Yes. And so yes, there's some inconsistency that's there. The conversation that I had with the president, the CEO of this company, was what if we could determine what we anticipate we could get these types of requests for? And could those costs be stranded across my fees? And that we recognize that is a cost of doing business, and that we have that absorbed, and when there is a request, or maybe it says we can get X number of requests per year.
In other words, bake it in.
Bake it in. And I think that brings the temperature down. It allows, there's a certain number of requests. But I don't think it's unreasonable with no matter who it is, whether it's an individual or a member of our media, if we are constantly using a resource that costs us, the government entity, additional dollars to provide those, that there's with notification, and I agree with you 100%, that notification must be there. But if you get 4 a year and you use your 4, and it's going to be a charge for anything more than that, or it's 2, because I've learned anything I say is what it's. I don't know if it's 1 or it's 2, it's 5 or it's 8. I don't know what a number is. I'm just saying that there are ways to do that. We could come back and we could do that on a true individual basis, that it is that there's a rate. The FOIA, here's where we have a problem. My understanding, the FOIA addresses what the municipality can charge for its services. It tells us how much we can charge for an employee that's, it can't be any greater than the lowest paid employee who can reasonably do the work, okay? Well, if I have a third-party contractor, and it's the only way that I can get the work done, is that under FOIA, $150 an hour? Maybe it is, I don't know that answer. But if I can understand better of what we're trying to accomplish, I can look for solutions to do that.
And for me, and I certainly appreciate you doing the homework to bring us some information. For me, it is baked in the title. And this council has strived to be transparent. And when you say Freedom of Information Act, and then we continually get timelines and deadlines, and the easiest route we can take to be as transparent as we can be, as quickly as we can be, I think plays to our credit. And if it doesn't, shame on us.
Do we believe that it could ever be abused?
Oh, 100%, anything can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I can give you example after example after example where it has been abused.
But in this case, in this case, even the CEO of our company changed the number.
Yes.
Is different than what we were given by that company to give a media outlet. So
Correct.
So it's not a good look for the CEO's company, for the town.
I agree.
It's somebody's got to clean it up, and
I
it's
agree. But what I did gain from my conversation with him this week was that he is certainly willing to work with us to do that in a fashion that he covers his cost to do that work, and we're able to provide the information that we desire to provide. He goes, I am willing to do whatever it takes. He goes, but I have a profit margin in our relationship.
That's why he's in business.
And he goes, and if I do lots more work that I don't bill for,
He's losing out.
then
He's losing out.
So Pete, did I see the nod of your head correctly? That we are still complying with state statute on a FOIA request for what we pay is not the lowest hourly paid employee that can reasonably do the work for us, because we are in a third-party contract. It would then pass to the contractor.
Correct. That is my belief. If we're doing it in-house, what we can charge in-house is the prorated hourly salary of the lowest paid employee who has the necessary skill and training to perform that. But here, if we don't have it in-house, we have to go out-house to be able to get those services. The FOIA says we can collect reasonable fees not to exceed the actual cost of the search, retrieval, and redaction of records. To me, that's what the third-party vendor is doing. It is doing the search and retrieval of those records. And it's saying, town, it's going to be $500 or $300,
Right.
whatever it is now. And so, yes, I mean, I think, I certainly, listen, I deal with FOIA a lot. I understand the push and the pull and the tension we have here. But, the transparency, the freedom to obtain records, but if that's a cost to the town, I certainly was not at liberty to waive any cost to the town in that situation.
We should know what those costs are. That's a standard business practice. And a moment ago, when you said somebody's abusing it, were you referring to the media?
No,
Who's abusing? I was just wanted to
no,
clarify.
my example was I've had many experiences of it being abused. Not necessarily here.
What do you mean it being, what is it?
Somebody just could repeatedly asking.
I've had an individual come in and ask to see
Okay, well, we can't
records for
control that.
10 years.
Right.
Every credit card is issued by the town for 10 years. It's this amount of work. And I would say, can you tell me what you're looking for? Can you help? I'll help you if you can tell me what you're looking for. But if you're just really just bogging down my system, because here's the thing, I can't deny it.
Correct.
But
So
what I
that's why I
can
say that's
say
not really-
is this is what it's gonna cost me to
Right.
do that, and you're gonna have to give me a deposit before I start all that work.
Right, but I'm not going to purchase a product unless I know what I'm being charged. And we're purchasing a product, we have a relationship with a third-party vendor. I don't think it's too much to ask to say, from this much data or bytes, or whatever it is that they are having to pull, it would cost this. For this much, it would cost this. I'm not sure that we've all of a sudden
I agree.
decided, oh, this is a big one, this is a really big one, this is a $500 one. I don't know what the item is that's being requested here. I could probably ask and get the answer, but I don't imagine that it's a whole novel of email. So I don't think it's too much to ask the CEO, who does want our business, what is it you're charging us? If you say 300 or 500 or whatever, it shouldn't be whatever. I would like to know, is 100, 200, 300, 400, 500? What
Yes.
is it?
I agree with you completely.
Okay.
And as I communicated, that's the conversation that I had with him this week, and he agreed to work with us in that fashion. Yes, everybody's in agreement.
But what does he agree to work with us in that fashion mean?
Well, I think what that means is we're going to determine, do we want to bake it in, and we're going to have a certain amount? Do we want to have a fee schedule for searches for FOIA data?
So,
Okay,
Mr.
so
Driggs.
to move
Because
this
to your
on,
point earlier, it's not in our agreement with them.
Okay.
And if our desire is to have it in the agreement, then we now know what it's going to cost.
okay, so to move this conversation along and then get to the next item, would you have an additional conversation or conversations with ATG, whatever, and bring back a couple of different options for us to review?
Absolutely. And I will go so far as to say, would council allow me to review your FOIA policy and bring back a recommendation for possible revisions?
Yes,
100%.
yes.
Because I agree, some revisions are needed.
Mr. Driggers, one other asking, can you review our, in that policy on how we charge? Because to Councilwoman Hover's point, we don't have anything listed. Can you review that to see what we, today, and I know we're talking about ATG, but what we charge today, and that's like 10 cents a copy, I'm using for example, stuff like that.
Yep.
And so that we can see something in addition to what has been
Yep,
asked.
our current policy says 10 cents a page, $10 an hour. That's your policy,
Internal.
internal.
Yes,
Internal.
per staff member.
Per staff.
$10 per hour per staff member. Now, per staff member may not be correct, but yes, I think that's
And-
referring to
and
internal town staff.
And and I'm assuming the current policy does not address third party.
No, there's nowhere, no.
Does not.
Okay.
No, sir, it does not.
Yeah, I'm certainly for, this is just a comment for you, I am certainly for baking in a certain parameter.
Right.
Because we choose to use the third party.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very
Yeah,
good.
your to-do list isn't getting any shorter, just go ahead and say that.
It's okay.
All right.
All right, so satisfied, everybody satisfied with that? Any additional askings? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is, we're skipping D and E. Item F is town manager search, review of job description, salary range, application period, and other associated matters. Discussion item requested by our interim town manager, Mr. Driggers.
Thank you. Just send those around.
Oh, sorry.
The, Jennifer and I have been working on the job description for your town manager position. We needed to boil it down a little bit. It was very, it was very wordy. Because we know the system that it came out of. It's called the Archer system, is where it originated. That tends to be a very complex system. So we've really kind of gone back to that and said, hey, look, let's just look at the main issues that we're dealing with here. And I think as you read through, if you read through this, I don't think you're gonna see anything that you go, oh my gosh, I had no idea that the town manager does these things, or I think we ought to add 15 other things that they do. The bottom line in this is that it says this is their job, and they're responsible for doing all aspects of their job. And they have to be here and work the hours that are necessary to do those things and all of that. Well, the good news is I had an opportunity, I made you aware that I was attending the South Carolina City and County Management Association meeting, and that meeting was last week. And at that meeting were about 215 city and county managers, assistant managers, deputy managers, some department heads that were at that meeting, but about 215 senior staff level people. That's the nature of this meeting that I attended. I'm a life member of this group. I've been a member for 30 years. I shared with this group that I was involved in Blythewood's search for its next town manager, and that we would be posting this very shortly. And as you can imagine, in one-on-one conversations, people would approach me and say, "Hey, I've got some interest in this opening. What can you tell me about it?" And I spent a substantial amount of time talking with people about the position, the role, the dynamics of the community, the dynamics of this council, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. When somebody says, well, I may be interested, what we have to know is, what is the salary range going to be? And we haven't established that. We've talked about it, but we have not established it. And the one thing that I was uncomfortable doing is putting a number on the table. Sure. That I think that should be. Because the number that we put out there has to be what we're willing to do if we believe the market requires that to happen. So I'm going to save us a whole lot of time and tell you that I believe, based on positions in this state, the size of our community, all the things that are in this mix, I would recommend to you that the salary range for this position needs to be 165 to 185. I think you'll have a lot of people that'll say, I'd take that. But I think you're going to have a lot of people who are unqualified to take that, because they do not have the experience or the training for this type of work. In South Carolina, we have more jobs than we have people to fill those positions. And it is a result of people just like me, people who have retired and have left the profession. And it has left a vacuum in South Carolina. And it's one of the reasons that we're starting to bring more and more people from outside the state into the state. There's lots of good managers outside of South Carolina. Never should think that we couldn't recruit someone. But for folks inside the state, if you ask me, do I think we could hire someone for less than that? Yes, I do. I think you would have someone accept your job for less than that. But I think what you described to me, what you're looking for in your next town manager, and that is someone with municipal experience, specific municipal experience, someone who specifically has experience working with industry and with budgets and with the dynamics of our council. I think you're going to need someone who's a little more seasoned, that they have been around for a little while, not necessarily as a manager, because we got some great assistants out there But at below this number that I'm recommending, those good assistants, it'll be a lateral move for them. Our assistants in South Carolina do very well as well. Managers, administrators, particularly for municipalities. Municipalities pay more than counties. Across the state, that's kind of how it is. But the jobs that a county administrator do, both very well qualified people, but they're different kinds of jobs. You manage a county, it's different than managing a municipality. Some things are very similar, some things are very different. Now, my role is to make recommendations to you. And so I wanted to share with you that I believe, to be competitive, that you need to be in that 165 to 185 range. You have to determine whether or not that's something that you agree with, disagree with, or you think it should be something else. But for us to be able to move forward in our search, we have to know what the position will compensate. And then we'll have other factors that we just have to be aware of. In today's environment, we're going to need to be willing to negotiate an employment agreement. You can call it a contract, but we call them employment agreements. And those employment agreements are going to deal with things like a term. How long are you asking the person to stay? What contract length are you willing to do? Are you willing to provide a severance in that contract if someone relocates and comes here and they've made an investment in you, but you don't think they're the right person after a short period of time? There are going to be things in those that are going to deal with benefits, things like an auto allowance or providing an automobile. There's going to be things in there like, what type of equipment that you provide to those folks to do their jobs. There's going to be language in there that talks about vacation, sick leave, if they're coming from within the state. Do you allow them to bring their sick leave from someplace that they're coming from? All of those are negotiating points. But we should expect we're going to get those in a request. Once we make a decision, once you make a decision and we make an offer to someone, if we're not willing to address those things, we need to be very upfront to applicants that no, the position will not have a contract. And then we're going to get applicants who are willing to do that. And we will not get the applicants who are not willing to do
So, Ed, quick question. For the salary range you're recommending, 165 to 185, what kind of employment agreement length would that carry? In
length?
Yes.
Well, I don't know that I've never seen someone come in the door and get a contract that's been greater than 3 years. I can't say they don't exist. I'm just not familiar with them. But typically contracts are 2 to 3 years. It's not unusual when contracts are renegotiated. Those can go to 5 years or something longer. I've had some conversation with some folks that says, hey, I know longevity is a big issue for you. Part of our negotiation may be some type of backloading, a reward for someone who stays, that the longer they're here, the higher they benefit. And so there's certainly ways to structure that. But yeah.
So, Mr. Driggs, you said that so this is the range, a $20,000 range, but you did mention that there's a possibility, a good possibility, that we could get someone for less than this. Would we then not widen the range so that we could have the opportunity to start someone?
Sure.
It kind of gives us a cushion.
Sure. Yeah, and we certainly could do that. Mm-hmm. I think it's likely that it will make a few folks a little nervous because here's what happens. Mm-hmm. The lower the range, mm-hmm. that's the number you're wanting, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's the number you're wanting. The higher end of the range is what the person who's applying believes they're worth. They're going to look at the range and they're going to say, oh, I think I'm worth the higher end of this range. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But wherever, so what I have found is an example, and I've had this happen where I've done searches before. Let's say we put the range as 145 to 185, and that's not an unreasonable range. I mean, if you want to do that, that's certainly reasonable. It's not unusual that someone would come in and, as I said, they'll believe that they're worth more than that. But let's say we then go, what are you currently making? And let's say they're making 120. And we think, well, if you're making 120, 145 should be more than sufficient for you to take this job. But the truth of the matter is, we may have a job that no matter who's in it, should be making more. Because we are wanting a certain type of person. Certain caliber, certain type, certain experience. And so, you know, what I'm bringing you is what I believe will attract more experienced people. I think lower salary, which again, I think you can find people that will do the job for lower amounts. I don't know that they would meet some of your expectations of being in the trenches.
Mr. Driggers, when you say on the job description or, you know, bullet point page, minimum qualifications of 6 to 9 years, what mix of qualifications, you touched on it earlier, what mix of qualifications? Certainly we would entertain somebody who has been an assistant manager.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that minimum is really saying, and again, we have to understand, when we say minimum, we can't consider someone who doesn't have six. We cannot consider 5. We can't consider 4. Because if we do, we got to start over, because we've changed, and then we've got hiring practice issues and all of that. And so, and that's the reason I brought this forward, for that very reason, to say, do we agree with these things that are here? I'm not necessarily recommending 6 to 9, but that's what we had in our job description previously, is my understanding.
You know what my next question is going to be. What would you recommend?
You know,
based on the caliber of person we're looking for.
You know, I honestly believe, that number, and I don't even know why we need to say that it has to, I don't understand 6 to 9.
Range. I don't understand the
so,
range.
I mean, I think we can drop the upper end.
A minimum of 6, a minimum of 5, whatever.
Yeah, I think minimum would probably be 3 or 4, if they're the right person.
Well, then
some people can learn a lot in 3 to 4 years.
Well, if you said a minimum of 3, then under preferred qualifications, then we would really be saying that individual would have had to have been a manager for 2 of those 3.
You certainly can do those types of things. Absolutely, yeah. You're wanting to. You've got wiggle room in preferred. You have no wiggle room in minimum.
But reading minimum, it's 6 to 9 years of local responsible local or government experience.
Correct. Not as a manager.
You could
not
cut
as an
grass
assistant.
for 5 years.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden,
you would meet the minimum qualifications.
Yeah.
Don't think they would make it in my cut for you to review.
That's not what I'm getting at. But my point is that is possibly intentionally vague and ambiguous, because it's extremely vague. It doesn't seem to really, quite frankly, it's not warranted, because you could cut grass for 5 years, then work your way up, and you've been a manager for 2 years, but yet you've got 15 years of experience because you started at the bottom and you totem poled your way up.
Yep.
And you have a lot of applications to go through unnecessarily.
Yeah. Mr. Triggers, I also want to touch on the salary that you were talking about earlier. I don't necessarily know if putting a floor in place is a great idea. But I do think you could put a ceiling, an up to number. Now, like you said, the person that's going to come in thinks that they're worth their weight in gold. We're going to say more like copper. But, you know, and then you meet somewhere in the middle and maybe you find your $120 an ounce silver, right, Councilman McKendrick?
Absolutely.
That's crazy. So I was thinking that you put up to, and there's the number, and that kind of establishes your ceiling. But, I mean, there's nothing that says that we couldn't go higher.
Councilman Brown, so you're gonna put a ceiling and not a floor?
Absolutely.
I don't,
I'd put the floor,
Floor,
not
not
the
the
ceiling,
ceiling.
but that's neither here nor there.
Well, you could do it, you said, if you want to do minimum,
Yeah, I'd
145.
do the floor.
Well, either or, but,
This position with a minimum starting salary of, but
well, I think the easy number is minimum 150, and you just roll from
Yeah.
there. That's a nice round number.
is this the intent, this document, this would be the intent of what you could circulate?
This, yeah, I'm at the point I need to publish, and, yeah, I'm past the talking stage, generating interest. I now need to get something in people's hands that says this is the job.
how
Well,
quickly would we put this out? I'm sorry, Councilman McKendrick. How quickly would we post this?
We're,
mean,
we're
without
ready.
tweaking.
I mean,
Okay.
we're ready to go.
I would just add the boilerplate on here, that this is not meant to be a complete list, and this position
Oh,
could
yeah, oh,
include
yeah,
other
yeah.
responsibilities as designated by
We
council.
can certainly.
May I ask a question, Mr. Mayor, please? Yes, ma'am. When you say we're ready, this is the first time that we've hired a town manager, because it's the first time we've had this form of government, correct? So when I look at this and I have these qualifications and I want to ask, what kind of tools does the town provide to me to be able to accomplish these goals, such as, I think we have QuickBooks and Office 365, but do we have municipal software systems? Do we have grant writing software? Do we have any sort of software, digital storage or data retrieval that would help this person right here? It says that they would ensure compliance with FOIA. I'm 99% sure we always comply with FOIA, but if we don't, is it because we're missing something? If we ask for these qualifications, are we able to provide a support system for the candidate? What do we have in terms of accomplishing these tasks, in terms of computers, electronic?
Well, I think some of those things that a new person would be responsible for.
Implementing.
Implementing and bringing in.
And
But the
purchasing
ones that you
them?
named, I think we have. I mean, we have software. We have, albeit there's some things that I don't think are necessarily good, but you have it.
Well, I guess because I'm new, I don't know that. For me, I thought we had QuickBooks and Office 365, and that was about it, so. To me, is there an investment side of providing a foundation for somebody that can command a salary of say 160, and we have the tools
What
that
you
they
just
can?
said. What you
So
were
that's
just
an
asked.
interesting point. So an investment side, I would not be surprised, I had them in all my contracts, that said, you're willing to invest in me for continuing education.
Sure.
I mean, I had it in my contract that you were going to provide me with continuing ed because I needed to constantly be on the cutting edge of this profession. And so I think those are the types of things that you will see, but it's not something that I would write into the job description, but I think you would want someone who has a desire for continuing education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
wonder, do we own the type of equipment that we need for this person to be successful?
We have lots of room for improvement.
Till they get,
Ask somebody to be responsible for these tasks, make
Yep.
sure that we have purchased the appropriate tools.
Yeah.
some of these, they need, yeah.
And I would end by saying, I appreciate the job description being boiled down. This is pretty concise, yet a very skilled individual that would have to do this. Secondly, and we as a council, you possibly as a manager, may get beat up over this conversation by those people watching from home, the media, but this is precisely what we need to be discussing in open session. The last time we went through this, there wasn't a peep of this discussed in open session. It was discussed in executive session. It shouldn't have been. This is part of being transparent. And truth be known, we're not far off of what we paid our last administrator. So these numbers aren't far-fetched. They're not that far off from what we paid previous people.
Yeah, I've tried to recommend to you numbers that I believe, and it's not just my opinion. I mean, there's research into that. I've researched the municipal association's published salary ranges for managers and assistant managers. I've had conversations with people. I know what those salaries are in the cities that I've served. And so what I'm recommending to you is what I believe is a competitive salary range to attract a qualified person, a well-qualified person, not a minimally qualified person, a well-qualified person.
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I appreciate that.
All right, Mr. Driggers? All right, do you have what you need from us?
Well, unless somebody tells me don't put that in there, I just need instruction.
so-
This is y'all's.
So I want to go down the list because I really don't feel like you got exactly what you need.
The real thing that if there's no disagreement in the job description, if I'm hearing we may want to modify the minimum experience,
I would just go with a number.
yeah, we can take the higher end off of that, and and Councilman Brock is absolutely correct. Yeah, we
Don't tell him that. Golly, don't tell him that.
Somebody could say, I've worked for a municipality for X number of years, and that's what it says, so I am minimally qualified. And I would go, yes, you meet the minimum qualifications. But when I go through applications, and what
They
you'll
might
get
not.
from me, there's gonna be an A stack, a B stack, and a C stack. B are gonna be your shining stars. C are gonna be the folks that it's just not worth your time to move forward with those. And B is gonna be the ones that's gonna say, hey, what does everybody else kind of see in this? So,
We know what he meant.
You know,
A,
yeah.
did I say B?
You're good.
Yeah, yeah.
A's are your shining stars, excuse me. Thank you.
We got
My
you.
family will tell you I love to be corrected. And then recognize as well, while I will bring recommendations to you, you will have access to everything. You want to go through the C's, go through the C's. Absolutely. But what I'm trying to do for you is to speed you through the process
Thank you.
through a lens of what it takes to do this job. And no one should ever believe that you would not have access to anything involved in this search. You have full access to
Where are you going to
everything.
put that number? If we're going to go to 1, what are you going to put it at? 6, 9, 5, what are you going to put it at?
Minimum number? I'd say 4.
Okay.
I would say 4 because I'm going to really tell you why I'm going to say 4. You know, I was a
your
mid-career
first job, you
I
had
was a
4.
mid-career change person. I was in industry first before I got into local government. And when I got into local government, my first job, I was there for 4.5 years in the city of Chester. I applied for a job that's minimum qualification was 5 years experience. They hired me anyway. It was a risk they took because somebody could have complained. They hired me anyway, but I didn't meet the minimum requirement that they had. And so my point with that is that you can have people with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years experience that can outperform people with 20 years experience. And you're just trying to, that came from your comment to me that said, we're looking for someone who has some experience in local government services.
And then I would still leave the preferred at 2.
And the preferred, I think preferred is, you know, you might minimally meet something else, but preferred, we're going for that management side, because that's supervisory or management experience.
And then, to the mayor's point, we're gonna put the salary range, or the beginning salary at 150?
I don't know, but, I mean, that's,
So,
and so will we advertise it with no ceiling, but a minimum, or is that what we're saying? So it
Yeah,
says,
because to your earlier point, we're gonna think we're getting candidates at 165, and the candidate's gonna think they're at 185, just because of what we put in print.
okay? Now, full disclosure, I will share with you, as I've talked with people, my conversation about salary varied with what I knew their experience levels to be.
Sure.
So as I was talking with them, somebody say, hey, you know, Ed, I've been doing this for 15 years and blah, 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 blah. And he'd go, what do you think the salary is going to be? My number for that person may have been different than the person who's been around for 3 years. You know, but they got an MPA, they're ready to go, and they got an assistant city administrator role somewhere else, and they've done that for 3 years, but they're not as prepared for this job as that person who had the more experience was. So the number I would share with that person was a different number. But always giving the disclaimer that said, it has not yet been established by council.
Sure.
Okay.
so, Mr. Driggers, my last final question and concern, you put 165 to 185 for a reason. Since you came on board, I entrusted you because of your experience and knowledge. That 165, you feel where we at? Because you have to examine us, each one of us here, that person would, report to. And given what you see, what we need and where we headed, I know 150 was put out on the table, something lower, a lower starting amount, but you got 165. Your honest opinion, where you think we would land a plane to really get somebody that we really need?
175,000.
Thank you.
I think it's going to take you 175,000 to get the right person.
Thank you.
Doesn't mean you may not. You may get it less. You may find somebody that you really, really like and they want more, and y'all got to talk about it.
Council, anything else you can add to assist in this? Mr. Driggers, one thing I would like, if you wouldn't mind, could you send this back out electronically with the pieces of recommendations for correction on?
Yep, absolutely.
Back out, and we'll move from there. So if you don't hear anything, you know.
Absolutely.
Cool. Council, everyone satisfied with what you've seen today in the job description?
Yes.
Thank you, Ed.
So we're not ready to vote on it tonight?
No,
then?
ma'am, this is a discussion.
Okay, thank you.
But he will send out an email. If you see something, have recommendations, send that back to him separately. Send that back separately. Mr. Councilman Brock.
Mr. Driggers, would this even require a vote of council?
I don't think so.
If we gave you an established date to publish, say 4 weeks from the second Monday in February or something like that? That'd give you a week and a half to amend and solicit responses?
Quite honestly,
Or just authorize when you feel comfortable, ready to publish, and it's
You know,
open-ended.
the way that I've kind of always tried to do this with folks is that I will make a recommendation, and if you're not comfortable with that recommendation, you tell me that. You go, no, I think that's a little too high. I think we want to do something a little different. I may say, I'm saying I think we need to advertise. It's open for a minimum of 30 days. So my thing is, we publish, we got a 30-day window. It says, it's going to say in the ad that the position is open until filled. So people can still apply because they may learn about it after this just allows us to get started into the process. But the way that I do this, and the way I've done this with other folks, is I'm looking at the end and backing up. And so, we should be able to have somebody in here by the end of May, I think. And you asked of me, would I be willing to work with someone in that transition? And yes. And so I think if that gets me to July 1 with you, that means that nothing in the new budget deals with me and those services. You've got all that done. It's all taken care of. You got a new person on board. Where the risk is, and this is the disclaimer, the risk is we go through February as the application period, and we go through March as council working through that and determining semifinalists or folks that you're interested in. We will spend March and April doing that. Our intent would be to hopefully make an offer by the 1st of April with someone starting by the 1st of June, the end of May. I mean, so we're trying to do those in those 30-day windows. The risk we have is that you find someone that you really, really like, you make an offer, and they decline. And if they do decline, are there others in your applicant pool that you believe could still do a good job for you? Or did you set the bar that that's what we wanted, and if that person is not here, we're going to start over?
Wouldn't we have a 1, 2, and 3, possibly?
You very possibly. What we want to be careful of is that if you've got a 1, 2, 3, if you've got a finalist group, and remember we got FOIA requirements on what finalist means. It's not always 3. It could be 5 if 5 are your finalists.
Sure.
So whatever you determine is your finalist or your finalist. And those you have to disclose. And all of your applicants will be advised of that, is that finalists must be disclosed. Well, that's when everybody gets a little nervous. When you're in this business, because now I'm a mayor and my council, and everybody knows that I'm looking for another job. Well, if you get down to 5, remember, 4 people have to go back to their community that didn't get the job,
Okay.
and 1 gets it.
Okay.
Well, that's not your problem, but it's an issue. And so what happens often is that you select your first choice.
Okay.
You make the offer, and then if that person doesn't take it, you go back to a second or a third choice. Oftentimes, those folks will decline because you were not their first choice. And they go,
How would they know?
we have to disclose.
Oh, Barbara wouldn't write it, neither would.
No, how would they know that they weren't the first choice?
But because we have to disclose.
The top candidates.
Yeah,
I understand that we don't have to rank them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if there's.
you got to make an offer to somebody.
It's a small community too.
Here's my thing is, I don't like the fact that public employees for these roles have to have all their information put out there when they're looking for a job. I don't personally like that, but it's the law.
No, I understand that. What I'm saying is if you have candidates A, B, C, D, and E, and you make an offer to candidate D, you give 48 hours or so.
Yep, you can do that.
And they come back and they say no.
You
How
can-
would candidates A, C, D, and E know that they didn't receive that offer? That's what I'm getting at. I don't think they would.
Well,
Because if
What, I'll tell you what I've seen happen. I've seen, it doesn't mean it happens in all circumstances, but what I've seen happen is the person who was offered, who declined, when the second person is chosen, has a conversation with that person and says, hey, I see you taking the job over in Blythewood. They offered that to me, but I just couldn't make it work. And the person goes, oh my gosh, really? Yeah, and they call you and they go, I've changed my mind. It's just, you know, when you make the offer, you really want to know before you make the offer if they're going to take the job. And there's ways to do that. That's, yeah. I think so. We're good? We're good.
All right, hearing none, thank you, sir. Item G, review of inclement weather policy requested by Councilman Brock.
Thank you. This one's pretty cut and dry, very much like Monday. Our inclement weather policy, and I use that word extremely loosely because I'm going to read it, because it is simply 2 paragraphs.
Yep.
Employees whose department are closed due to inclement weather will be paid their regular straight time earnings if scheduled to work the day of the closure. Okay? Refer to the Columbia media, and if Richland County declares a closure, the town of Blythewood does so as well. Certainly got an issue with that sentence. Second paragraph, employees whose department are not closed due to inclement weather or whose jobs require that they report are expected to report to work. Those who fail to report may cover their absence from their paid leave balances, if any. That is our great and grand inclement weather policy. Doesn't talk about remote work. Doesn't address anything other than if the county closes, the town of Blythewood closes. I believe that it's fair to say that every business, I believe, that's scheduled to open on Monday in the town of Blythewood opened except one, and that was the town of Blythewood. So that was a swing and a miss. So, Mr. Driggers, what would you recommend as a revision, possibly, to the inclement weather policy? Because it was a pretty nice day on Monday. I think everybody would agree with that. And we probably shouldn't have been closed. Could we have delayed opening?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Sure.
So, just going straight with what the county does, probably on Monday, clearly not
No,
the
sir.
right move.
And my communication to each of you was, I think the policy needs to be reviewed.
Yep. So, have you had an opportity to do so? Which there's not much to
I
review.
thought
and do
I'd
you
wait
have
till
any-
tonight to kind of see what
See
my
what-
marching orders would be.
I agree with you. It needs to be revised,
Sure.
and there needs to be some.
Yeah. You know, the thing about policies is interesting. This is an employment policy. So we publish an employee handbook, and this is contained in it. And the purpose of that is so that employees know what to expect from their employer. I mean, there's a reason that you do these things. I've worked with people over the years that have said the fewer policies you can have, the better. Because if you don't have a policy, you can make a decision to do whatever you feel like you need to do. And I don't disagree with that. And inclement weather may be one of those that I think that might be an appropriate answer. Because here's the deal. Today, we have 12 employees. I know what every one of them do. I know what they can do from home. I know we're not a complex organization. And so I don't know that I need a policy that gives me all the things about work from home and do this and do that. Friday I told people, I said, if you got a laptop, take it home with you because we might need to, if you can do something from home, that's probably what we're going to need to do. But we don't know yet. This is just off the forecast. Just take it home with you. I'll tell you, our administrative staff, every one of those folks at some point during the day worked. What I asked of them was, document it. Tell me what you did, how much time you spent on it, and let me know. Because I do know that at the end, we've got to make this fairness call of, does somebody work, they work, and they don't get paid for the work they did, and there's people who did not work and they get paid for work that was not done. Well, again, with 12 employees, I would rather have a policy that says, why don't we let the town manager wake up and look out the window and make a decision?
Great, great.
Or, if we eliminated the policy altogether, that would, by default, just create the responsibility of the town manager.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
my
the
point.
solution.
My
is
point
to
would be just
eliminate
remove the policy. Just remove it.
Okay, okay. Message received, put it on the next agenda.
Cool. Cut and dry.
Yep.
All right.
But you know, but I will say this in fairness, because I had someone ask me this today. They said, if the policy didn't say that we follow the county, what would you have done? If I made that decision Sunday night, based on what was happening with freezing rain and sleet at 8 p.m., I would have made the decision to close those offices tomorrow. Because the forecast is that that sleet and rain was going to be a hazardous event. And we didn't know it wasn't until we woke up the next morning.
Yeah,
Well, that is what the body would have to accept as a possible outcome, given the situation and information that you have at the time.
Right.
Yeah,
You
sure.
make a decision based on the information you have at the time. Yep.
I certainly wouldn't want anybody to take the questioning of the inclement weather policy as we want people to do something that's unsafe. That by no means is the message that
And that
I
is-
think anybody on council is.
You are 100% correct, and what we communicated to all of our staff is that if we open and you believe that it is unsafe to come in, do not come in. If you can work from home, that's wonderful. If you can't and we were open, then the policy would have applied and they would have had to have used leave.
Mr. Driggers, do you have the authority in some policy to allow remote work?
Remote work. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, then I think we're good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Any other discussions, questions? Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is executive session per the South Carolina Code 30-4-70. One item this afternoon, item A, legal update from our town attorney as amended on the agenda this afternoon. We will be discussing 300 Main Street this
Yes, sir.
afternoon. We don't have anyone to invite in, so I'll be looking for a motion to approve to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion made, looking for a second. Second made, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to executive session. Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Following executive session, were there any items requiring a vote? None, Mr. Mayor. None, thank you. I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Good night.